Hello, everyone. My name is Art Russell. Welcome to my channel. Well, we're going for it, folks. We're going to have our first spontaneous late night non-duality show, and I don't really have a clue where it's heading, but I hope it's going to give you something of value. So, first and foremost, why am I so passionate about the subject of non-duality? In speaking about something, knowing our true self, that must be experienced to be known. Because from my apparent experience, I live most of this body-mind's apparent years being unaware of my true nature. And when we live from that perspective, a lot of suffering can be experienced because we process this world and circumstances in a very different way. This is actually what the account of the prodigal son is meant to relate in the Bible. And I'm no Bible authority, but I do know some of the important points. So in case you're unfamiliar with it, the story of the prodigal son was of a father and two sons. And I believe it was the younger son wanted to take his inheritance and leave the father and his brother behind. And as the account tells, the son went to a distant land, and there he squandered his wealth and ended up having to work as something related to swine, which was considered the lowliest of the low type of work. And when the son would think back to his father and his brother, he would think, why am I living in squalor when my father and my brother are living the good life? And so as the account relates, he turned towards the father and made his way back to the father. And when the father saw him or felt him, there was great joy and there was a great celebration at being reunited. Now, being reunited knowingly with our higher self is what non-duality is all about. It's actually the meaning of yoga also, not just the poses and that modern view of yoga. Yoga means to yoke together. The same, I believe, can be said of the true meaning of religion, instead of just thinking, oh, what denomination or what faith do you follow? Religion comes from the Latin word religare, as far as I know, which means to tie back, to tie back to that which we truly are. Our higher nature is divine, and it springs from one eternal, infinite fountain. Let's go to this book, use this as a jumping off point for some information. Wake Up and Roar satsang with Papaji. Now, satsang, from my understanding, means the association with good people, and I think it can also be tied to those who are seeking truth or wisdom in the company of good beings. So wake up and roar. Now, what can that mean? So there's a story that's told in ancient texts. I'm not sure if they began with Advaita Vedanta, but I also shared this story in my book entitled This Taste of Flesh and Bones. And the basic gist of the story is this, and it's meant to relate something important. Again, like the allegory of the prodigal son. So a lioness pregnant with a cub once saw a gathering of sheep. The term escapes me right now. What we call a herd of sheep. Anyway, and seeking food, the lioness leapt towards the sheep. And as she did, she died. The cub was expelled, was born, and that cub was raised by the sheep. And in time, it learned to graze and baa like sheep. And one day, a mature lion looked at the little lion cub and the sheep, and it could barely believe its eyes. It prowled a little bit closer, and it thought, I've got to do something about this. And when night fell, the mature lion approached the lion cub and said, "What's going on? You're not a sheep." And the lion cub looked at him and said, "Yes, I am. Yes, I am." And it even bleated like sheep. And the following day, the mature lion approached the cub again and said, "Come with me, come with me." And he took the lion cub to a small pond. And he said, "Look at your reflection. You look like me." And the lion cub looked, and he did see that he looked like the mature lion. And the mature lion said, "Roar." And the young cub tried, and finally let out a great roar. And the roar was a sign of triumphant victory, that it finally recognized that it wasn't really a sheep. It was a lion, its true nature. It recognized its true nature. Now, this is meant to relate, of course, the human condition. We're programmed by our environment to believe that we are the person. Now, this, for someone new at this, may sound crazy. I mean, well, of course I'm the person. But what the teaching is that no, we begin with awareness, consciousness, and that objects, persons, events are created out of consciousness, known by consciousness, that our true nature is spirit, or consciousness. Now, if this sounds really bizarre, we can also compare this to dreams, nighttime dreams. And in those dreams, as all of you will be well aware, events take place, and they seem real as real during the dream. And people speak, they dance, they play, they go to work. All of those activities within the nighttime dream. But then we believe that we rise as persons again in the morning. We shrug off that dream and say, oh, that was just a play of the mind. Unaware that this, in the waking state, is similar to a nighttime dream. So that's what Papaji would be referring to by the title of this book, that we can wake up from the dream of personhood. That's what enlightenment actually means. Now, there's a twist with this, though, with enlightenment. No person ever becomes enlightened. That perspective is transcended, overridden, so to speak, by knowing of our true nature. Now, so that means we drop the perspective of the person. We still witness it. We still see what's going on in the character's apparent life. But the circumstances were then freed from feeling so intensely about, I must conquer life. I've got to come out a winner. So letting go of the perspective of the person is actually liberating. And again, that's tied in with enlightenment. All of you will be well aware that the human condition is fraught with challenges. Trying to keep life on an even keel. It's usually tipped one way towards pleasure, so we feel good for however long that lasts. Or the scales have tipped again and we go to the other end of this teeter-totter where there's pain. And we keep trying to keep it, okay, maybe we don't need the highest highs, but we sure don't want the lowest lows either. And that's the human condition. Pain and pleasure go together. When we recognize our true self and we wake up and roar, the situations in life that toggle back and forth between pleasure and pain, good and bad as we judge them, don't matter as much to us. Yes, we still care. In fact, we care very deeply for apparent others who we now, from this greater perspective, view as our brothers and sisters, our spiritual brothers and sisters, instead of being opponents or competitors in this reality called human life. What's real, eternal, unchanging, is awareness. We cannot have an experience in the absence of awareness. That's probably more than enough for our first spontaneous late night non-duality show. I apologize for the poor lighting, but again, I felt this nudge to do this, and I hope it's been of value in some way. One last point before we go. Some of you may be asking, so how do we arrive at that? The greatest advice that I feel has great value is meditation, even a few minutes a day. Now, there are no accidents in life, but I came to meditation many, many years ago for different reasons. I was having some physical problems related to stress and gut issues. And so meditation seemed a very natural way for me to calm down this personality and maybe alleviate some symptoms. And so with doing that practice for many, many years, there was an opening that appeared in which there was this separation between awareness and what is witnessed going on in the mind and in the apparent world. And that gap increased and increased until there was finally this disidentification from the character art. So I highly recommend meditation. It's referred to in the Bible with be still and know I am God. Go into the silence. Your sensations, images, feelings, thoughts can all be watched. What is the witness of them? The body is witnessed. Anyway, that's all I'm offering this evening. I'm looking forward to talking again with you soon. Bye for now.